Hi everyone, my name is Chet Belker and I'm presenting a case study on Vioxx and the Advantage trials. First, I will provide a brief background on Vioxx and the Advantage trials. Vioxx was an anti-inflammatory medication manufactured by the pharmaceutical company Merck. Vioxx received FDA approval in 1999 after only 6 months of review. 2 years after FDA approval, Vioxx was linked to an increased risk of heart attack and stroke. In 2004, the drug was recalled. While the increased risk of cardiovascular events is important to this case study, the primary focus of my presentation is the Advantage trial. The Advantage trial was a study orchestrated by Merck's marketing department that enrolled 600 primary care physicians to recruit a few patients in order to compare the gastrointestinal side effects between rofecoxib and naproxen. Rofecoxib is the generic name for Vioxx. Advantage was a seeding trial, a study that appears to contribute scientific knowledge to the research community, but in reality is designed to market a new drug. The article that I analyze in my presentations is a ghostwritten article. As we discussed in class, ghostwritten articles are composed by a professional writer who is omitted as author on the paper so that authorship can be credited to scientific professionals. Figure 1 shows the first page of the article and includes the journal name, authors, and abstract. Physicians were recruited among 600 clinical sites to enroll on average 9 patients for the study. A total of 5,557 patients were enrolled. Figure 2 presents the demographic information of the participants. To be included in the study, patients must have been at least 40 years old, diagnosed with osteoarthritis of the knee, hip, hand, or spine, have pain symptoms for at least 6 months, and require regular pain management. Patients were randomized into either the rofecoxib or naproxen treatment groups. No control group was included as the investigators were not interested in the efficacy of the drug. The rofecoxib group received a dose of 25 milligrams per day, and the naproxen group received a dose of 500 milligrams twice daily. Both groups received treatment for 12 weeks. The primary study endpoint was either the full course of the 12-week treatment or discontinuation due to GI intolerability or abdominal pain. The manuscript indicates that the study was approved by the IRB or other ethical review committees, and written informed consent was received from each participant. Data was gathered using patient-answered surveys, patient assessments, and laboratory tests. Cox proportional hazard model and Fisher exact tests were the statistical methods used to compare the relative risk of GI adverse events. Statistical power was set at 90%, and significance was set at an alpha level of 0.05, which is typical for most studies. GI tolerability was higher in the rofecoxib group than the naproxen group. Figure 3 illustrates the discontinuation of participants over time between the two groups. Patients in the rofecoxib group also required less medication to manage GI symptoms than the naproxen group. Statistical significance of these findings was determined using the p-value approach, where p-values less than alpha are considered significant. No significant difference was observed in the pain management between the two drugs. The manuscript states that there were 5 incidents of heart attack in the rofecoxib group compared to 1 incident in the naproxen group, and that there was no statistical significance in thrombotic cardiovascular events between the two groups. The conclusion drawn from the study is that patients taking rofecoxib have increased GI tolerability and need less medication to manage GI symptoms than patients taking naproxen. Improved GI tolerability is likely due to rofecoxib's selective inhibition of COX-2 receptors, whereas naproxen inhibits both COX-1 and COX-2 receptors. Merck claims study relevance was to improve understanding of how different anti-inflammatory medications affect GI tolerability. However, as I will discuss soon, this research had already been conducted in previous studies. Additionally, several internal documents from Merck show that Advantage was actually created to get the product into physicians' hands early and gather market data on physicians participating in the trial. Figure 4 is a slide distributed by Merck listing the responsibilities of the marketing department concerning the Advantage trial. The marketing department was intimately involved in the entire course of the study, from experimental design to data analysis and publication. No future direction was indicated in the manuscript, probably due to the marketing nature of the study. Over the next 2 slides, I will give an overview of the literature analyzing the Advantage trial. All but one of the articles which was published in the New York Times come from peer-reviewed journals. This first slide provides critiques regarding the scientific relevance and integrity of the study. Internal communications from an executive at Merck showed concern that there were no scientific reasons to conduct Advantage. The GI benefits of Vioxx had already been demonstrated in a previous trial with over 8,000 patients. The manner in which patients were enrolled in Advantage was impractical. Instead of recruiting hundreds of physicians to enroll about 9 patients each, the study could have been completed in a few large medical treatment facilities with only a few investigators. The most concerning misstep in the study was the omission of 3 incidents of heart attack among the rofecoxib patients. This decision may have been influenced by the fact that Advantage was a seeding trial with the ultimate goal to boost profits. Next, I will go over the questionable research practices that took place during Advantage. Merck used the Advantage trial to gather data on physicians' prescribing habits without their knowledge. Figure 5 shows a grading scheme developed by Merck's marketing department that ranks the prescribing habits of physicians that participated in Advantage. The next ethical issue of Advantage is that the published manuscript was a ghostwritten article. Dr. Leese, the first author, did not meet authorship criteria as he did not intellectually contribute to the study or participate in writing the manuscript. Dr. Leese also stated in an interview that 2 journals had turned down the article before being accepted by the Annals of Internal Medicine, a reputable peer-reviewed journal. Internal documents from Merck support Dr. Leese's claims. Documents from the company detail the employment of ghostwriting companies to prepare manuscripts and other publications, along with recruitment of guest authors. The final ethical concern of the study is that informed consent documents were incomplete as the marketing aims of the study were not disclosed to patients or physicians. Additionally, the physicians never provided informed consent to collection of marketing data regarding their prescribing habits. 2 lawsuits were filed against Merck by Kona and McDarby, claiming the company committed fraud in the marketing and sale of Vioxx. McDarby was awarded $15.7 million in the settlement, and Kona was awarded $2.27 million. A key finding of the case was that patients in the Advantage trial experienced significantly higher rates of myocardial infarction compared to the naproxen group. The significance was understated due to the exclusion of 3 patients in the rofecoxib group that experienced a heart attack. Merck's defense for the Advantage trial was that naproxen has a cardioprotective effect, which accounts for the differing rates. However, aspirin also has cardioprotective effects, and the patients taking both rofecoxib and aspirin also had higher rates of myocardial infarction. The litigation also cites that the FDA had sent a letter to Merck warning not to engage in marketing strategies that minimize the potential risk of increased heart risks associated with Vioxx. Last, I will present my personal analysis of the case study. One major concern of the experimental design is the recruitment of participants. Small samples were selected from hundreds of different clinical sites, so even though there is a high sample size, the sample may not be a good representation of a particular population. Additionally, the enrollment of participants appears to be biased towards white and female individuals. As far as results, the only significant concern is the exclusion of 3 participants in the rofecoxib group that experienced a heart attack. Including these patients may have made the results significant. These concerning findings should have been discussed further in the article. The 3 ethical themes that warrant evaluation in the Advantage trial are seeding trials, informed consent, and ghostwriting. Seeding trials like Advantage promote multiple forms of bias. Motivation to understate the cardiovascular risks of Vioxx could have been due to the preconceived notion of the study, which was to promote the drug. Also, seeding trials provide pharmaceutical companies a way to pay investigators significant monetary compensation, which would usually be prohibited. Figure 6 is a graph from a study that investigated how the prescribing habits of physicians are influenced by participating in a study. Physicians that participate in a study funded by a pharmaceutical sponsor are more likely to prescribe the sponsor's drug. As discussed earlier, patients and physicians were not informed that additional purposes of the study were to accelerate uptake of Vioxx and evaluate physician prescribing behavior. Without being provided all of the pertinent information about the study, participants cannot make informed decisions about enrolling. Had subjects and physicians been made aware of these purposes, they may have chosen not to participate in the study. Finally, the ghostwritten article produced from the Advantage trial presented here undermines scientific integrity. When authorship on a paper written by a profitable company is assigned to scientific professionals, the research is given undeserved credibility. Ghostwriting also provides an avenue to publish works in peer-reviewed journals that would probably be rejected otherwise. These published works dilute the body of published scientific evidence that researchers use to further scientific knowledge or healthcare providers use to seek improved treatments for patients. These concerns highlight the importance of the authorship criteria presented by the Office of Research Integrity. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to viewing your presentations and hearing your feedback.